Donald Trump intentionally and maliciously insulting 14 of our bravest service members recovering in Walter Reed from the injuries they sustained in connection with Donald Trump's unlawful and catastrophic war in Iran. There are 14 soldiers who have serious injuries as a result of Trump's catastrophic war who are recovering at Walter Reed. When Donald Trump was at Walter Reed this week for his physical exam, which he has covered up the true extent of it, he visited some service members at Walter Reed, but when he was specifically asked if he was going to be meeting with the service members injured in his catastrophic and unlawful war in Iran, Donald Trump very specifically, intentionally and maliciously did not want to meet with them because Donald Trump wants to downplay the casualties. He wants to downplay the consequences of his unlawful war, and he did not want that photo op with our injured service members, so he ignored them and blocked them from meeting him. I want to talk about that, but I also want to remind you that this is the same exact thing that Donald Trump did back in 2020. People forget this story, but it's important that we resurface it right now because remember in 2020 when Donald Trump killed the Iranian general Soleimani, remember that? What Donald Trump covered up was the fact that Iran then launched a retaliatory strike in Iraq where our service members were stationed, and there were a ton of our service members who were very seriously injured with traumatic brain injuries. And Donald Trump covered this up and he said, they just had headaches. It's not a big deal. They weren't really injured. In light of all we know now about how Donald Trump has covered up the catastrophic consequences of this unlawful war in Iran, I want to resurface the clip in 2020. This is after Donald Trump kills the Iranian general Soleimani. Iran retaliates by hitting an American base in Iraq. Our service members are seriously and catastrophically injured, and Trump covered it up back then. Here's what he said. Let's play this clip.
Mr. President, a question on Iran. Initially, you said repeatedly to Americans that after Iran retaliated for the Soleimani strike, no Americans were injured. We now know at least 11 U.S. servicemen were airlifted from Iraq. Can you explain the discrepancy?
No, I heard that they had headaches and a couple of other things, but I would say, and I can report, it is not very serious.
So you don't consider potential traumatic brain injuries serious?
They told me about it numerous days later. You'd have to ask Department of Defense. No, I don't consider them very serious injuries relative to other injuries that I've seen. I've seen what Iran has done with their roadside bombs to our troops. I've seen people with no legs and with no arms. I've seen people that were horribly, horribly injured in that area, that war. In fact, many cases those bombs put there by Soleimani, who's no longer with us. I consider them to be really bad injuries. No, I do not consider that to be bad injuries. No.
Not only that, but then in 2024, during Donald Trump's campaign for office, when he was asked about what really occurred in 2020, where about 100 U.S. troops suffered traumatic brain injury, serious injury. Donald Trump was like, no, what are you talking about? Just headaches. They weren't really injured in Iraq. They weren't really injured. Here, let's play this clip.
Do you think Israel should retaliate to these missile attacks from Iran? But also, do you believe that you should have been tougher on Iran after they had launched ballistic missiles in 2020 on U.S. forces in Iraq, leaving more than 100 U.S. soldiers injured?
So, first of all, injured. What does injured mean? Injured means you mean because they had a headache, because the bombs never hit the fort. So just so you understand, there was nobody ever tougher in Iraq. They had no money with me. They would have made any deal with me. I would have had a deal made within 1 week after the election. They were dying to make a deal. And when you say not tough, They had no money. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. And when we hit them, they hit us. And they called us. And they said, we're going to shoot at your fort, but we're not going to hit it. And if you were a truthful reporter, which you're not, you would tell the following: none of those very accurate missiles hit our fort. They all hit outside. And there was nobody hurt other than the sound. It was loud. And some people said that hurt, and I accept that.
Just to remind you, at that time, on January 17th, CENTCOM said in a statement that 11 service members were transported out of the Al-Assad after being screened for traumatic brain injury. Then Donald Trump said that there were no injuries relating to the strike. He later described it as headaches. We then learned that there were actually about 100 service members who were very seriously injured. So let's fast forward. Donald Trump goes to Walter Reed this past week. He visits some soldiers, but he refuses to visit the 14 who were injured in the Iran war. CBS broke the exclusive. Give credit where credit is due. Trump made time to visit the U.S. service members during his trip to Walter Reed Medical Center this past Tuesday, but he did not see any of the 14 troops injured in the war he started with Iran, who are also recovering at that hospital, according to the family of one soldier and another military official familiar with Trump's visit. Trump just said, I ain't seeing them. I don't want to see them. Keep them away. This is the same Donald Trump who called them suckers and losers. He said that McCain is not a war hero because he was captured. I want to remind you the number that CENTCOM today tells us about the amount of troops injured. 409 troops had been injured. They claim 90% have returned to duty, but using Donald Trump's math, my suggestion, although I'm just giving you my opinion here, you know I don't like speculating, but the Trump regime lies about everything. Multiply that number by about 100 when it comes to Donald Trump. At least multiply it by 10. So my view is that the actual injured is probably in the thousands, 3,000 to 5,000, maybe more, because Donald Trump lies about everything to that extent and degree. So the story from CBS, the White House said that Trump met with the service members. A White House statement said Trump was honored to meet with our amazing service members and medical staff while at Walter Reed Medical Center, covering up his cognitive and physical decline. All right, I added the covering up cognitive and physical decline, but we all see him cognitively and physically declining before our very eyes.
The older I get, the more I find myself wanting to be more intentional about the way I live, eat, and take care of my body. Mosh, which you may have heard about on Shark Tank or Oprah's Favorite Things, was founded by Maria Shriver and her son Patrick Schwarzenegger with a mission to spark a conversation about brain health through food, education, and research. After Maria's father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, they set out to create something bigger than just a protein bar. Mosh protein bars are made with ingredients that support your brain and body like ashwagandha, lion's mane, and omega-3s. Plus, Mosh is the first and only food brand boosted with cognizin, a premium form of cytokine that helps support focus, memory, and mental clarity. And they taste amazing, with 9 delicious flavors including plant-based options in chocolate chip cookie, hazelnut chocolate chip, and peanut chocolate chip. And now you can save on Mosh while making your wellness routine effortless. Get 25% off plus free shipping on your first 15-count variety pack, and then 20% for life on your monthly subscription. You can swap flavors anytime based on what you like best, keep your go-tos on repeat, or try something new. Your favorite functional fuel is delivered directly to your door so you never run out, and supporting your brain health becomes a simple habit that you can feel good about. Why? Because Mosh donates a portion of the proceeds from every order to the Women's Alzheimer's Movement, because 2/3 of Alzheimer's patients are women, and Mosh is working to close that gap. It's more than just a protein bar, it's brain fuel with purpose. I love Mosh, and I know you will too. Find your favorites, build your boxes, or keep things fresh with a variety pack. Mosh bars are the best way to customize your health while giving back. Head to moshlife.com/MeidasTouch and subscribe today to get 25% off your first variety variety pack and 20% off your monthly subscription with code MeidasTouch. That's 25% off your first pack and 20% off your subscription of brain-boosting bars delivered straight to your door. Start building brain health into your everyday with Mosh bars. Thanks to Mosh for sponsoring this episode.
Now, it should also be noted that the day before Donald Trump went to Walter Reed, he also gave a speech during Memorial Day. And Donald Trump has been consistently downplaying the 13 deaths. He's been saying, oh, not a big deal. In other wars, there's a lot more. Vietnam, World War II. This isn't all that bad. Remember what Donald Trump has been saying about our 13 service members who made the ultimate sacrifice? This is what Trump said 5 days before Memorial Day. Just play this clip.
We've lost in 2 major wars. We took over Venezuela. We essentially took over Iran. And we've lost so far 13 people. Somebody else would have lost 100,000 people, okay? But I get a kick when I look at somebody on television. He's lost 13 people.
And here's what Donald Trump said on Memorial Day. What a disgusting thing. What a disgusting creature. What a disgusting, vile thing he is. Here, play this clip right here.
In 2 wars recently, we've lost a total of 13 service members. In Venezuela, which was a complete and total victory, where we're working very closely with the Venezuela government right now. We took that over in 1 day, and we lost no one. In Operation Epic Fury, we lost 13 wonderful souls, wonderful special people. These incredible men and women gave their lives to ensure that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror will never have a nuclear weapon. Oh, and they won't. They will never have a nuclear weapon. I'm sure you know that.
Now, it should also be noted that in the past 24 hours, a few other stories have come to light. We've learned as well, and Tara Koop at Task and Purpose explains, over the last year, the Navy has not promoted a single female officer from captain to 1-star admiral. Not a single one. And in fact, where we saw admirals, generals, army chiefs of staff stand up for qualified, diverse candidates getting promotions, they've been fired or forced out. Hegseth only wants white men in charge, in my opinion. Tell me what your opinion is. Also, U.S. military veterans yesterday launched a major lawsuit against the disgusting Trump regime to stop the construction of the giant triumphal arch that Trump is naming the Arc de Trump, which would obstruct the view of the Arlington National Cemetery. In the lawsuit, the veterans say how disrespectful it is to those I served with who didn't come back. The lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia argues the 250-foot structure that Donald Trump wanted to be bigger than the arch in Pyongyang would obstruct the historic line of sight between the Lincoln Memorial and Arlington House at the Arlington National Cemetery. The plaintiff says the view was intentionally designed to symbolize national unity following the Civil War and has remained unobstructed for nearly a century. 3 of the plaintiffs are Vietnam War veterans who regularly visit Arlington National Cemetery and say the structure would dishonor their military and foreign service by disrupting the solemn view between the cemetery and the Lincoln Memorial. The 4th plaintiff is an architectural historian who argues the project would damage the historical and aesthetic integrity of the monumental core of Washington. While Donald Trump creating that eyesore, another eyesore develops at the White House. Donald Trump has turned the White House, the physical structure, into both a trash site, an asbestos crater, and a carnival. It looks like, no offense to Six Flags, Six Flags meets a literal dumpster fire right there. look at the White House before, look at the White House after. And, I try to veer away from, even though, I despise this authoritarian regime, I try to veer away from ad hominem attacks and saying, this is a trash, despicable regime, rat, all the, scumbag. I try to avoid that because I try to stick with the facts. I'm sorry. But when it comes to what Donald Trump does to our veterans, to our service members, the disrespect he shows, sometimes I can't control it in these videos. So I'll just be real with you. When I say it, and that's how we feel. I think that's how you feel. That's how I feel. And sometimes we just say it. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks so much for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.